Hello, it's Joshua here with another edition of Mortgage Clarity. And today we're going to talk about interest rate locking, kind of what it is, how it works, and all the ins and outs of it. So at some point during your loan process, once you're under contract, you're going to have a conversation with your lender about whether or not you should lock. And you have options. Do you lock for 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, or 60 days, or something different? So we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about what's going on behind the lock and why these different days in which you lock for time frame has an impact. So when you lock in a rate, what you're really saying, you're telling the lender, look, I want to guarantee that this rate's not going to change. I want to make sure that when we get to closing, this is the rate I have at the agreed terms. Now, the important question is how long do you have until closing? And this will factor into whether or not you want a 15-day, 30, 45, or 60. Those are the more common ones. Now, if you're looking at the exact same interest rate, the difference between locking 15, 30, 45, and 60, that rate will have a different cost. The longer it takes, or the longer you want the lender to guarantee that rate, the more it's going to cost you for that rate. And the reason for this is when you lock a rate, the lender immediately places a hedge in the market. And the reason they do this is because even though you've locked the rate in, the lender does not get paid on that loan until they've actually completed it and sold it into the market. And you have no idea what the market's going to offer in the future. So to make sure the lender doesn't lose any money and can still guarantee you that rate, they place a hedge in the market so that if rates get better, the hedge gets worse. The lender will lose on the hedge. But between what they gain in the market getting better and what they lost in the hedge, they balance out and they make what they expect to make when they sell that loan. Now, if the market gets worse, and the lender, say you lock in at a certain rate, and by the time they go to the market wants a higher rate, well, their hedge gets better, and therefore, again, when they settle the two, everything balances out. So this is why there's a difference in cost between a longer-term lock versus a shorter term, is it costs more to guarantee or to place a hedge for a longer time in the future. Now, this is also why when you lock an interest rate, let's say you lock it in, and then 2 weeks later, the market gets better. Well, you don't get the benefit of that improved market because you've locked in the rate. Now, what happens, and the reason this is if you were to break that original lock, that lender would have to break that hedge, and they incur a cost with that. And therefore, again, you can't break the lock. There are some lenders that do allow what's called a float down. And what that is the lender says, look, if the market gets substantially better and we don't want you to have to break your commitment with us and go somewhere else. So if the market gets substantially better, we offer a float down. And this can vary from lender to lender on how they do this. So there's not really a universal formula for that. But essentially what they're saying is that the market improves enough that we can cover the loss of our cost for breaking that hedge and place a new one and take some of that cost out of that improvement, then you can get the improvement for the rate and we'll get covered with the improvement in the cost through that. It's a bit complicated, but just to say that there are potentials for that. Now, the difference between, we talked about locking 45 to 60, those different time frames. It's hard to tell when to lock because depending on the volatility in the market, your interest rate lock from a 30 to 45 day and a flat market with not much volatility, there's not much difference between that. So it might be easier to go ahead and lock in that longer term rate sooner. When you get into very volatile markets where you see large swings up and down, that volatility gets priced into it. And so you might start to see that the cost of locking from 30 to 45 become more expensive than it was in the past because of that added volatility. So volatility plays into this as well. Now it's important to know, again, if you lock for 30 days, that's what the hedge is for. So if you end up having delays for any reason and all of a sudden now you can't close by the end of your lock, then there is going to be additional costs for you to extend that rate lock beyond that. And again, what this cost is going to vary from lender to lender, but it's a legitimate cost because what the lender's having to do is they had a hedge guaranteed to a certain date, and now you want to extend beyond that date. And so there's a cost for them to be able to go in there and basically hedge that longer period of time. So you can expect that if you don't close by that date, to have more cost. And this is really where your conversation again comes back to your lender of deciding, is now the right time for us to lock? What's going on in the market? Do we have a fear that there's more maybe downside risk and therefore it's worth that extra cost to lock now for a longer period of time? Or should we go ahead and float into the market? The other thing that's a big determination is, do you expect that the property you're buying, would it have any delays? You might have a close date on your contract that says it's 30 days out, but if you don't have your inspections back yet, you don't have your appraisal back yet, things might happen that require you to have to either go back and renegotiate repairs, which might take time to fix, or other potential delays in the process. So it's just really important that when you do decide to lock, have a conversation with your lender to find out whether or not, even though you hope to close within 30 days, would it make more sense to hedge yourself by going with a 45 when you hope for 30. So there you go. There's a very broad overview. I'm sure you'll have questions. If you do, put those questions in the comments down below. I'll get back to you with responses to that. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and please share so that other people can get a hold of this great content as well. All right. Until next time, have a wonderful day.